Welcome to the Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. It's your girl, Constance Carter. I am your host for today, and we have a super duper important topic to talk about today. Y'all, a viral video shows a Baltimore teacher. This is not even funny. I shouldn't even be laughing. It is, but it ain't. But it shows a Baltimore teacher arguing with a student. The student appears exhausted, and both are speaking inappropriately to each other. One comment in the video says, 30-year veteran high school teacher here. Many of these kids are out of control. They're rude, they're disrespectful, they're vulgar, and they're hypersexualized. Note, I said many, not all. They have no discretion, and they do not care about the line between adults and children, staff, and students. I'm sure that the teacher has had enough. Were her actions acceptable? Maybe not, but based upon my experience, totally understandable. Teachers are not robots. But here joining me today is Miss Athena. Athena is a CPA and a wealth coach. And we have Miss April Sampay, special guest with us today. And she is an entertainer and a real estate professional. All right, y'all. So we're going to roll this video and then we're going to talk about it.
I'm ready. I got a mother that slap this your mom to the ass.
Go get it. Come on. You fucking second face bastard. Suck my dick.
Say it again.
Suck my dick.
Your big ass. Your titties long. Look at it. You ugly as shit.
Just like your mother. Just like your mother.
Better than you, bitch.
I know.
Look at you.
I know she
big
did.
ass hoop on your
I know.
body. You
I
ugly
know.
as shit.
I know.
Look at
You
you.
wish you looked that. You wish you did. You did. You did. I know. You dick don't work because you don't have one. You don't have one. You don't have one. You don't have one. Take your pussy ass on. Suck my dick and go hit on, bitch.
Why did you drag it like that?
Go hit on.
Ugly as shit.
Your mother ugly and your grandmother.
Your grandmother ugly.
She did, so I don't know. She did. She did. Don't worry about it. She did.
Yeah, she did.
Your mother, your mother, your mother, your mother, your mother, your mother, your mama, your mama, your mama, your mama, your mama, and your dead father bastard. Bye. Fuck you, whore. Fuck you, whore. Take your nappy head on. Take your freckles ass on with your no-ball bastard.
First of all, when he called her long titty, he lucky he didn't get popped in the face. That's all I'm saying. That's where the disrespect stopped with me. You gonna call me a long titty? Son? Come on now. Athena. This ain't even funny. This is not a laughing matter, you guys. What are your thoughts, Athena?
Okay, a part of me feels bad because a part of me is laughing a little bit because the ratchicity is high in this video. The ratchicity is high. So a part of me is laughing, but it is a very serious matter. My first response or reaction to watching the video, I kept thinking, I can understand teachers getting frustrated because they're underpaid, overworked, and all students are not the best to deal with. I feel like a lot of parents can barely deal with their own child, much less you dealing with how much, 20, 30 students in a room. That is a lot. However, the way she responded was not appropriate to her role. Like, you talking about dead parents and grandmas. Granted, the student is highly disrespectful, okay? Highly disrespectful. I feel like she should have birdmanned him and said, put some respect on my name type of thing. Give a suspension, give it attention, just nip it in the bud. But I felt like she had time today and she clearly let him know that.
My question is, does suspension or detention matter anymore? Right? I remember when I can't say you all because I'm probably, I could be the oldest in the room, but I remember as a young whippersnapper, if you gave me detention or I was suspended, it was a problem, right? Now they're like, oh, good. I don't have to learn today, right? And so I felt sorry for the teacher because I felt like she really needed to get that out. It felt like it seemed as if it was kind of festering for a while and those kids were getting on her for a while and she just needed to let it out. However.com, to your point. You do not need to bring up that baby's dead parents or anything else for that matter. That is just unacceptably unacceptable.
Yo, these kids bad as shit. I don't care. And if you could not pay me enough to be a teacher in this day and age. But what do you guys think kind of brought up the confrontation? What could lead to something like this? What, she told him to sit his bad ass down? What you think, April?
It could be a number of things. I mean, in this day and age, you could have just said no. I'm sorry. But in this day and age, you tell a child no, and all of a sudden the whole world just falls down. So she could have said no. She could have said you had the wrong answer. She could have said, get out of my classroom. She could have said, get off your phone. And it's probably just that. Get off your cell phone and focus on the class that I'm teaching.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
This is just really unacceptable. To your point, yes, these some badass kids.
And it could have been just you don't know the amount of fights that happen when a cell phone is taken from a child. It's unbelievable. And I've heard some really vicious stories about you taking a cell phone from a child and they just absolutely go ballistics. I've seen it. I've seen videos. But let me ask you in the audience, because you know this is a dialogue and it is not a monologue, and it's just not a dialogue between all of us. We want to include you in the conversation. What do you guys think? Do you think this was unacceptable? Do you think the teacher was in the right? Do you think the teacher was in the wrong? Are you of the mind of Athena? Yeah, I'm tired, but she does have a responsibility. She went a little bit too far. What would you have done in that situation? And that's a question I want to ask you, Athena. What would you have done in that situation?
If I was a teacher, if I was a student?
If you was a teacher, because we all grown here.
Okay, so listen, I have two sides. I'm trying to figure out would I have been the angel or would I have been the devil in this situation, because the angel in me is like, you know what, let me calm down. Let me call someone on the what's it called? Walkie-talkie, have them come and take the student away at detention or something. Now the devil in me is like, listen, let me get you together all quick. Although I would not stoop so low as to bring anybody's family members in it, because at the end of the day, no matter what happens, they're going to look at this footage. I'm sure she lost her job. I'm sure this did not go over well. She
in Baltimore. So I don't know. She in Baltimore. They might need some folks like that.
But I'm sure this didn't go over too well for her career. And if she's at that job, that means she needs to be there. She needs that check. So I think I would have tried to at least calm the situation down, or have someone come facilitate me. Or if I just can't, I'm sure teachers have some kind of stressful, I hope they do, because it's a stressful job. If I needed to have another teacher or an AP or someone to take over, that is what I would have done. I remember in high school, and I went to a very rigorous high school. Like, no one got through that entire program without at least one panic attack type of thing. And I remember there was this rest in the classroom when we just had an AP assistant principal come down to the classroom to calm things down. I remember being frustrated in class and gathering my things and going to the assistant principal also and saying, look, I can't do this today. So I think there are a lot of alternatives available to us. I just question if the frustration that particular teacher was feeling, is it really the bad kids, or is it just that whole system of teaching in America? Because that's something we need to discuss.
Oh, for sure. We're going to get on that for sure. I promise you, y'all, if y'all just came in, we talking about these disrespectful ass kids. And I'm normally actually biased towards the kids, because I do believe adults should be adults. But I tell you what, if you call me a long titty bitch, it's gonna be some flowers bragging and some slow sagging and some flowers bragging. I promise you, call me a long titty bitch. It's gonna be some consequences and repercussions up in this motherfucker.
Can you say that louder for the children in the back? Because I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. The problem is the kids in the back. Okay. The kids that are in the back were the ones who were making all the noise. And they're the ones who are egging on that kid. Do you get what I'm saying? They're egging on the child who is trying to fight with the teacher. So, and Constance, I think we lost her for a second. Mm-hmm. So you ask, what would I do if I was in that particular situation? number one, I would probably get on the walkie-talkie, press that. I don't know if they have like a little button on the wall anymore. If they still have that, that's one of the things I would do. While I am waiting for somebody to come, oh glory. Oh glory. I'm going to give it to you all the way right. I'm going to make sure that you feel. I'm going to make sure you feel it. And sometimes you do have to maybe put your hands on the child. I don't know. Shoot, like I would want to slap somebody's kid. But the problem is, I'm going to tell you, that's why I'm not a teacher. God bless me.
Under the jail. You will be under the jail.
God would bless me for not being somebody's mama. And or a teacher. Okay, because there's no way in hell I could be a teacher. But I will say this: I would definitely have that child's parents in that classroom on a regular basis, because that child's parents would need to see what's going on. So of course I was joking. I would want to slap the crap out of the child. Don't get it twisted. That's not a joke. I just wouldn't do it. I would want to. I just wouldn't. But I would definitely have that child's parents in that classroom on a regular basis. And if you're not coming to the classroom, your child is not going to be in my classroom. Amen. That's
Amen.
the problem.
Where's my tambourine when I remember that I do have friends and that were our teachers and guidance counselors, and know of people who have done teaching, even if substitute or for a brief period of time. Everyone has always told me that they have felt or have experienced moments where they wanted to harm the children in the classroom, because even if it is at a good school, it doesn't even need to be a situation where, you know, the ratchicity is high. The disrespect, that's your favorite word, ratchicity?
Yes, everybody put ratchicity in the chat. I'm going to need y'all to put ratchicity in the chat. That is our word of the day. Use it at least 4 times.
Okay, a high audacity of ratchetness, ratchicity. So I remember, but I remember them telling me also that the parents don't care, that any other situation that would remedy those situations are really not available. I remember them telling me that, to the point where my friends had to buy pads, tampons, soap, basic hygienic things, and keep in their classroom, because parents are sending their kids with no food, no snacks, all of that. So even in some cases, reaching out to the parent, it does nothing, because a lot of parents treat school like daycare.
Oh, of course. You think, okay, first of all, we talked about it being Baltimore County Public Schools, okay? If you've ever been to Baltimore County Public Schools, I have nothing but respect for those teachers. But then you also have to look at, in a lot of inner city public schools, a lot of those teachers are very young and fresh out of college, right? They don't want to teach. The seasoned teachers don't want to teach in the inner city anymore, because it's too much work and they don't want to deal with the children. So they end up going to either private schools, or they go to schools in the suburbs. That's where they go work. So you end up having a lot of inner city public schools with just a lack of knowledge from the teacher, a lack of knowledge from upper management, meaning the principals, people who just flat out don't give any damns. And so, yes, I feel very bad for those teachers, but there has to be something that we put in place to make sure that we are pouring into the kids, because then you end up having a whole bunch of kids like this and a whole bunch of kids with these problems. To your point, you have kids who are coming to school with no pads. You know what? That's something that we need to, that's a conversation that I would have had with the parent in the beginning. Where are you? What do you need? You know what I mean? Let's talk about it. I want to make sure that your child has a great experience this year. Financially, if you need, like, what do you need? Because that way I could potentially go out and try to raise some money or do whatever I have to do in a situation like that. I mean, and there's so many different programs that are out there. We just don't care. And it's not fair to who? The kid. You see that teacher, to your point, just was like, today is the day, I have the time.
Somebody gonna get this. Somebody
getting
smoke, and the first one that ruffles my feather gonna get all this smoke today, because I didn't had it up to here. I didn't had enough. I do want to talk about, and to both of your points, I do want to talk about both of those things.
Wait,
about
huh? One of the points about beating children.
Well, I didn't hear that part, but
Oh,
I
okay.
will fight it. Somebody did, you know, and I'm gonna go to the comments too, because somebody did say that's a lawsuit respectfully, Constance. And that's the reason, ladies and gentlemen, that I am not a teacher, because I will put hands on a child. I promise Jesus Christ on the cross. So you guys are here listening to the Fly Nubian Money. It's your girl, Constance Carter. I'm here with Athena and our special guest, Miss April Sampay. Now, listen, we want you to subscribe to the Fly Nubian Queen right here on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And every time we go live, we want to make sure that you're notified. So text the words Queens, Queens, to 87948. Again, Queens, Queen. Don't forget the S, to Fly Nubian Queens. And don't forget that we are now on Spotify. So tune in Monday through Friday at 1 by searching Fly Nubian Money on Spotify to catch all of our conversations. And if you want to get your money right and your money tight, go to the flynubianmoney.com and try our free financial resources, courses, and much, much more. Now, listen, I want to look at these statistics on these slides because I think it's extremely important that we understand where not only the students are coming from, but where the teachers are coming from. These teachers, y'all, are overworked. Look at teacher burnout. 44% of teachers leave the profession within the first 5 years. That's from the National Education Association. Student behavior. 85% of public school teachers reported that student behavior problems are interfering with teachers. Support for teachers. Only 32% of teachers feel that they have the adequate support from their school administration. Policy stats. According to the U.S. Department of Education, only 20% of schools have comprehensive behavior. 20%. Ooh, with all these badass kids, only 20% of schools have comprehensive behavior management programs in place. And funding disparities. This is huge. Schools in high poverty areas often receive less funding, impacting resources and support available. Now, I need to address this real quick because I did a TED Talk. I don't know if you guys saw it. It's called Google That Shit. And it's a great, excellent TED Talk. I talk about closing the wealth gap. And we spend, I think, $2 billion more in schools, in your white schools than you do in black schools. It doesn't mean white kids are inherently smarter. Black kids are inherently dumber. It doesn't mean that they're better and our kids are worse. It means they have access to more resources. And let me tell you this all goes back to racism, in my opinion. I really do believe that, because if this were affecting white kids in this way, there would be no way that the public schools would be in the condition that it's in. We all know that the way that schools get their funding is through property taxes. Now, if they were equally distributed across the board, where every school got equal funding, everyone would have equal education. But because you have majority of white kids who are getting the majority of the good lion's share of the money, white people are good with that. But what it also does is it weakens our national security, because now we got to go and hire people from out of the country to come in to do our jobs that our kids aren't qualified to do. So now you bring in all these foreign people because you are so caught up in keeping certain people oppressed and certain people in power that we're actually losing our power. And this is the direction that America is going and has been going. And I believe race has everything to do with it. What do you think, Athena?
Race always has everything to do with it. And you're right. Most of the funding from school comes from state and property taxes. Now, the federal government does give some money, but not nearly enough when it comes to even spending on war and other things that we don't even need to be spending on, honey. Because if you can get cut a check, our students, our children should be able to get cut a check, right? Our student loans should be able to get cut a check for, okay? When it comes to teachers, the other thing that makes me sad is how much they get paid, right? Teachers on average earn 24% less than comparable college graduates, according to the Economic Policy Institute, right? And also the national average beginning teacher salary is $44,000 a year. All right. So especially in this economy, you have to budget your whole life after taxes. What is that, $3,000 a month? And they probably took out a student loan to go to school. So you take that out. What rent is looking like. So the frustration of not even getting paid enough to deal with the high levels of disrespect, especially in financially low socioeconomic areas. The other thing I want to say is that is something, as we talk about going into this election cycle, there's this huge debate around immigration and how we're treating that. And, you know, with immigration, is usually two camps. There's people who get bussed in here, get cut a check, and start their life. I wish it was like that for me, but I wasn't in no cut a check camp. I wasn't like, you have to get your H-1B visa and work camp. So what this country is it goes all back to capitalism, which is heavily racist in itself already. The government don't really care about us, right? Immigration is for business owners. They want a cheap labor force and a specialized labor force, right? So to bring this back to teaching, my friends who are teachers, guidance counselors, were telling me, and I live in the state of Florida, right? Instead of raising their salaries to a decent wage, right, or increase, because most, on average, I think the average salary of a teacher has only raised 9% in the span of 20 years. Okay, 20 years, 9%, right? That's not keeping on with no type of inflation in any way, right? Adjusted for inflation, teachers today are getting paid 5% less than they were 20 years ago. So what they're doing is they're having programs where teachers from foreign countries like Korea, China, elsewhere, come over, take a lower salary, and to do that work instead of paying the teachers here. So what we're having is, not only aren't you, because I can understand if you go to college and the teaching degree was free. So not only you have to pay to become a teacher, to teach the youth, you're not being paid enough, you're not being appreciated. And they're saying, well, if you don't like how it is, we're just going to get, Ling Ling, come fill your position and keep it pushing. Right. So what resources teachers have?
For $40,000 a year, who want to go to work and be abused every day by these badass kids?
Can I take it one step further though?
Yeah.
I think it's our fault. And take it how you want, but when it comes to the money that's coming out of our pockets every year, we're the ones who pay their salary, right? Now, if it comes down to who we want to see play basketball, and no shade, I mean, listen, yes, of course, with how many people they can pack into an arena, they deserve the money that they get. But we're not putting them on the level that we need to put a teacher. We're not talking about how teachers deserve to get the money that they need to get, that they deserve to get. I mean, if you think about it, back in the day, teachers were looked at with respect. Teachers were appreciated. Teachers aren't appreciated now. They're just like, oh, you're just the teacher. No, that's the reason that your child doesn't know how to read. That's the reason. And so one of the things Constance was talking about initially is, it being a racist thing. And it's funny because usually I'm sorry to say, I don't agree with anything that Constance ever says ever. And so that was one of the things that I agreed with. But I look at it from a different perspective. I look at it like, for instance, Prince George's County, Maryland. It is a black, very, very high income area, right? Is money just being put out all over the place, but yet their high school dropout level is on 1 million compared to what's Montgomery County. You look at it down here. I live in Augusta, Georgia. In Augusta, Georgia, there are two major counties. One is Richmond County. One is Columbia County. Richmond County is the black area. Columbia County is the quote unquote white area. Richmond County's taxes are higher, yet The school levels are progressively lower. It's the same way in Prince George's County versus Montgomery County, and I'm sure a lot of other counties across the board. Why is that, and where is that money going? That's the conversation that we need to have. We talk about money, and it's from a money perspective. We are not telling people, we're not focusing on where the money is going, how the money is supposed to be properly allocated. Why? And I think that the parents who have teachers in the school need to be able to interview the teachers that are coming into the schools. That's just my opinion. But again, I thank God don't have children, because I'd beat somebody at least once a month.
Well, no, that's real interesting, because I happen to live in Prince George's County, and I'm still trying to figure out this shit. Yeah, because my kids come from an all non-Black situation, from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. Now they have culture shock, and they got these badass kids. And I live in an extremely wealthy Black community. These people in my neighborhood drive Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces and Bentleys. And yet I take my kids to school. One day I was walking through the halls, and all I smell is weed. Everybody look like something.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody. But what I do notice is the people who really have the money, they're putting their kids in private schools. However, they're still getting this tax money. So because I'm new here, I can't really speak on it. So I don't know, but I know that, it's a whole lot of craziness.
Why is that? Because that doesn't make sense.
But that's
if that county is so wealthy, how come
you got to ask April. April's from here.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, April?
I'm sorry to put it out there. It's like that in every major city. Please don't act like that's not necessarily.
No. There's wealth here, but the schools still suck.
Because nobody is holding anybody accountable. How often do you see the parents of these children going into meet with the board of education? How often does that happen? No, everybody's too busy driving their Porsches, driving their Rolls Royces, driving everything that they're driving, but they're driving their children to be ignorant. Okay.
Well, their children are going to private school though. So hold on. For those who just came in, I want to re-show this video, this ratchet ass. Wait. What you say, Athena? Ratchety? That was the word for the day? Ratchicity. I want to show this ratchicity.
That's the word of the day.
And for that to come out of the goddess's mouth is just so below you. But we're going to watch this ratchicity, because it is amazing what is going on in this school system. Let's take a look.
I got a mother that'll slap this your long titty ass.
Go get it. Come on. You fucking second face bastard. Suck my dick.
Say it again.
Suck my dick.
Your big ass. Your titties long. Look at you. Ugly as shit.
Just like your mother. Just like your mother.
Better than you, bitch.
I know.
Look at you.
I know she
big
did.
ass hoop on your
I know.
body. You
I
ugly
know.
as shit.
I know.
Look at
You
you.
wish you looked better. You wish you did. You did. You did. I know. You dick don't work because you don't have one. You don't have one. You don't have one. You don't have one. Take your pussy ass on. Suck my dick and go hit on, bitch.
Why did you drag it like that?
Go hit on.
Ugly as shit.
Your mama ugly and your grandmother.
Your grandmother ugly.
She did, so I don't know. She did. She did. Don't worry about it. She did.
Yeah, she did.
Your mama. 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 And your dead father bastard. Bye. Fuck you, whore. Fuck you, whore. Take your nappy head on. Take your freckles ass on. With your no ball bastard.
I promise you this ain't funny. The second time I watched it before. It's not as funny as it was the first time, but I promise y'all, to Jesus Christ on the cross, if that Negro would have called me, said something about my long titties, it would have been some consequences of repercussions. I digress. I'm sorry. That just right there. But she did go too far. I do admit she did go too far, but sometimes these kids will take you there. I promise. Let's go to the comments. Let's look at the comments. Janelle said, what in the world is a teacher acting like this? Wow. I know, Janelle. Let me see. Let's see some other comments. Beyond Ratchet. Yes, that means ratcheticity. That's what that is. Well, let's go with another one. There are good teachers and bad teachers. If you don't love teaching, don't go into it. Great comment. And let's get one last comment. Bring in classroom video surveillance. That'll shut everybody up. So you said something extremely important, April, about parental involvement. There is an education crisis. Are teachers fighting with students more than teaching? But look at all the teachers fighting the kids.
Because they're fed up. That's all I'm saying. Like,
look at this little boy got a black eye because he didn't mess with the wrong one.
Right. He effed around and found out.
But parental involvement is so extremely important, and it doesn't matter on what level and what socioeconomic status that you're in. If I can be back on camera, it doesn't matter what level, what socioeconomic status you're in. If the parents aren't involved, this is the type of activity that you get. I promise you, the moment, exposure rates go down 30% when you have parental involvement. You got to look at the things that they do to the children as well. There is a book by Kwanzaa Jufu, the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. And I'm a living witness to this happening. And my kids, again, they didn't go to a Black school. They went to a school where there were a lot of non-Blacks. However, and they never really had Black teachers until they moved out here. And I remember in 3rd or 4th grade, one of the teachers saying, that, hey, you should get your son checked out for maybe ADHD. And I was like, I'll consider it, but I knew he didn't have it. But it wasn't that I'm just that mom that is in denial. I just knew, just based upon how he acted, she just didn't know how to control her classroom. And then one day she yelled at him and she said, when is your mom taking you to the doctor? And I read her rights, right? So what had to happen with each level that my kids went to is I had to be involved. And I only had to do this I didn't really have to do it for my daughter, because what I do understand is that teachers will treat your daughters better than they will treat a Black son. I already knew that going in, that teachers are automatically going to have less tolerance for my son, that they were going to, Black boys get expelled, I think 50% higher than anybody else. They get, they get diagnosed for, all of these things. And so I already knew going in. So I have 3 boys, they're all 2 years behind each other. I would only have to talk to the teacher one time, to the first teacher for my oldest son. And then everybody else knew, like when somebody else with the last name Carter coming in, we already know that we already know who their mom is and not to mess with them. We also made it a point in my family, the entire family, and this is when I was married and there was 6 of us, we went to every single parent teacher conference as a family. We were a force. They knew we were there. Now, everybody doesn't have that capacity. Everybody doesn't have everybody doesn't have the capacity to be able to go to parent teacher conferences, go sit in classes or anything like that. But don't you know, a simple email or text will let the teachers know that you are involved, and it would make such a huge difference. But these kids, I believe, are groomed this way from early on because they are already criminalizing our boys from early on, saying that they bad, putting them on timeout, expelling them, suspending them, and all of these things for very minor reasons. And by the time they get into high school and junior high, they're out of control because nobody cares, because their moms weren't involved, because they're busy. They might be busy working a job or two, and they simply didn't have the time, or maybe they didn't care to have any involvement with the teacher. What are your thoughts, Athena?
Listen, if I had a child, divine willing, and anybody had an issue with my child, I would be there. I remember my mother showing up once. And I was a good kid, so I didn't have any issues. But I was also like a naive kid, and I would just laugh at stuff. And we were in the choir and we had to sing. And one of the students were struggling to sing and didn't sound good. So I just laughed. I just laughed a lot as a kid. And that woman reprimanded me so hard, and my mother was there. And my mother came out of the audience and just read her life and took me, and we went home. And I think that is the type of fierceness that we need to have over our children, especially Black children, because especially if it's a non-Black environment, most of the schools, when I left Jamaica, of course, were non-Black schools. My high school And I've had experiences in both private and public schools. So I know the benefits, the pros and cons to both, because I've been in both private and public school settings. I will say this, I do think that private schools, there's more of an expectation of excellence and decorum between not only the teachers, but also the students in general. When I did go to private school, it was in a non-Black environment. I do think that as a group, and the overall message I want to get out is this: no one in America, if you are on coast, if you are on cruise control with your life, that time has come and passed. We in a new era right now. You cannot be on cruise control with nothing, not your kids, your money, your politics, nothing, right? Because these are the things that are happening. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. So I do think that when it comes to parents showing up for their kids and being present, that is the bar, the minimum, especially if it's public school, because they really don't care.
Yeah.
They really don't care in those environments.
Angela said, my sister in the comments, she said, my sister is a teacher in Oakland, California, and these kids are out of control, and the schools nor the parents back the teachers. And I can imagine that Oakland, listen, I'm from the Bay. Oakland is the wild, wild west, y'all. I don't know how anybody is actually still teaching in Oakland for anything less than $1 million. April, what are your thoughts? What about the parent involvement?
Okay, I have a friend who actually has a son who has IEPs. Okay, they started the child out on IEPs, I think, in like second grade, let's say, and they had some behavioral issues in, let's say, third grade. I'm making all this up because I don't know the exact age range, but let's say third grade. Okay, now they're in high school, and they had a parent-teacher conference and brought the parents in to meet with the teacher. And they also had a behavioral person in the room and somebody else. So it's like 3 people on the teacher side, the parents and the child. And they started talking about all of these really bad things that the child did. I mean, really bad things, to the point where the father is looking at the child like, when did any of this happen? And why didn't you all bring this to my attention? But let me go in on my son, right? So let me see this document. Pulls up the document. This was from elementary school, 3rd grade. They're in high school now. Why do you have somebody who's talking about behavioral health now when it's a good kid, nobody's ever had any problems, and the father looks at the mother and is like, I was about to go in on my child. And I was about to belittle my child. And so what he did was, in front of the child, went in on the teachers and everybody else for doing this and disrespecting his child that way. Number 1, that helps the child because that lets the child know my parent has my back. Number 2, it lets the teachers know, don't mess with my child. If you have a problem, I'm going to definitely handle my child. But in addition to that, don't put something on that kid that doesn't need to be there. And I think somebody was asking, what is an IEP? It's an individualized educational plan. And typically that's if they either have behavioral issues or learning issues. I think, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if it's both behavioral and learning, but something in that realm.
Does the parents have to sign off on that? Because I feel like that can easily take like a racist turn.
But if you think about it, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, because they literally had all of these people around, like, we're going to have to sit down and talk to you about your child's issues. When the child this wasn't their first year in high school. This is their first year with this teacher. This teacher didn't know the parents, and the teacher really didn't know the child, but read this and said, oh, we're going to fix this now. We're going to nip this in the bud right now. No, nasty heifer. If you would have paid attention and you would have actually read like you're supposed to do as a teacher, then you would have learned that this is not the child to play with.
Yeah, to your point, my nephew had an IEP and he came to live with me. And I was going to the schools, and he was having a hard time. And I remember when they took him out of those classes and they put him in the regular classes, and he started to do better because now he doesn't have this stigma on him. And then I remember telling his mom, we should probably take him out of the IEP, for good. And she said, I ain't finna lose my money. That's what some.
Wait, hold up, they get a check with the IEP plan?
Some of them. I don't know about all of them, but my nephew was getting a check, and if he didn't have issues, she would no longer get a check. And so that was that situation right there. Mm-hmm.
So no, yes and no. I think it's more so depending on what level they're on, air quotes. So if they start out with probably something severe, I would probably say yes.
My nephew was just bad and needed a whooping, but that was that. But then also, I want to piggyback on something you said too, because I've had to check teachers, and I know, and I want to talk about two different ways, because parents be checking teachers for no reason. I would have to check teachers. So I remember one time some teacher called my son stupid and dumb, and he came and told me, and I have 4 kids. And I was always on the wish method. I wish, I just wanted to, when my daughter used to get bullied, I just wanted to go stroll the hallways, just punching my fists, right? Can I please just stroll the hallways, punching my fist, letting everybody like, no, Mom, I don't want you to do. But my oldest son, he was like, Mama, I'm ready. I'm trained to go. So I go up to a school, and we have a conference, me as dad and the teacher and the principal. We have a meeting. And after I got done reading this man his rights, he was literally shaking, right? And then my ex-husband, he was over there sitting like this, like he was mean. I got done reading his rights. And I told him, anybody with the last name Carter, you don't call them nothing but intelligent, sir, or a child of God, because you will not ever talk to my kids like that, right? So check them like I do, the other teacher. Now, my middle son, the one under him, I remember he came home and he was like, Mom, my Spanish teacher is really racist. And I was like, what? Oh, hell no. Nah. Go up there, ready to go. And so we waiting on him to come out, and the teacher's like, well, can we just start? And I'm like, no, we gonna wait on my son. I'm ready. And so my son finally comes down, and she's over there like shaking, and he comes down and she's like, so, your son won't pay attention, and he's playing with his friends. And I'm like, is that true, Kyron? And he's like, yeah. Wait a minute, hold on. What? She said, and I said, well, why aren't you moving his seat? Well, when I move his seat, he moves back. Is that true, Kyron? Yeah. You gonna get us up in here and you gonna embarrass us in front of this woman? I'm trained to go. So his dad was like, boy, he started reprimanding him, and she had this little smirk on her face. She was happy. So we do have to, we have to be advocates for our kids, but we do have to have those checks and balances, because everybody said, I'm like my aunt. I have an aunt named Patch. God rest the dead. My cousin Dante, she would cuss me out. I'm younger than Dante. She would cuss me out over her baby. You ain't playing with my baby, you get cussed out. She would always be up at that school cussing somebody out behind something her baby did. But she ain't gonna let nobody disrespect her baby. And that's what a lot of these Black parents are doing. They are excusing their children to behave the way they do and allowing them to come into these schools and act like damn monkeys. Have you guys experienced that at all?
Well, I was going to say, but if you think about it, that's probably why we don't have that support. So what did you say? 32% of the teachers say that they don't feel that they have the support from, let's say, the principal or the parents. They don't have that support. They don't have anybody that they can turn to say, okay, who's on my side? So after a while, they're like, okay, nobody's going to have my back. Now I'm just going to bust somebody's head until the white meat shuts. I mean, that's just.
But look, these teachers are not only frustrated with their kids, these teachers is acting a fool within themselves. Look, check this out. We got these teachers out here fighting each other. Check this out. Are teachers fighting with teachers more than they are fighting? These are actually teachers that are in the damn classroom cutting up. Now, let me ask you two a question, Athena. Are they just letting anybody come up in there and start teaching? Like, how in the world are these teachers fighting each other?
As quiet as it's kept. All right. So, not saying that a lot of people don't go into the teaching profession on purpose to educate our kids, but I know a lot of people who end up being teachers were students who studied something else and couldn't get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And the state requirement mostly was like, all you needed was a bachelor degree. So a lot of people who are actually teachers didn't intend on going into that profession initially. They just happened to fall into that because they needed to work and they had a bachelor's degree. I do think that makes a difference in how you approach teaching, because, you know, if you're working a job that you don't necessarily like, but you just need it for the check, it's going to reflect in your approach and the quality of your work product. Now, I don't like that image of teachers fighting, especially two Black women fighting, because we just see that.
There was a white woman up in there too. There was a white
was
woman.
Was a white thing. There's a white in there.
Not a
Okay.
white
I didn't see it. Okay, I didn't see it. You know, I didn't see the Caucasian in the mix, but
we try to keep it balanced on Fly Nubian Money
because they fight too.
Yeah,
but
she was a fighting Black teacher, but you know, I digress.
Yes. But you know, back to even the video that was shown, you know, he was calling out her fupa, you know, he was saying, you know,
long titties. Yeah, go ahead.
She bad build, she looked like a fridge box, all of that. It is really like a personal, and kids can be very harsh. Look, if you want to know the truth, ask the opinion of a child.
Right.
And you will get the unfiltered truth.
Are they letting just everybody up in here to teach? What do you think? What was your experience like growing up in Prince George's County in the schools? Because I remember you said
it was amazing.
But you were, but wait, you didn't have the
high school was horrible. Huh?
Because you said your parents weren't really involved, so you had a whole gambling circuit going on in your school. So you didn't really have
great.
Okay.
I ran a casino in my lunchroom, and they had 4 lunches per day. So I had 4 casino nights during the day. It was wonderful. There was one teacher that I had an issue with, only one, and that's because she would keep sending me to in-school suspension, which meant I only had 1 lunch and I couldn't run my casino. Okay. It was the best. You can't get any better than that.
So that was your first entrepreneurial venture, the casino?
No, it wasn't my first. It was probably my third. My first one was when I was in middle school or elementary school. I used to get the string, the gimp, and I would sell little pieces of it for $0.25. So 1 piece is $0.25. You need 4 in order to make something nice. Amen. And so that's what I would do in back of class. So if you look at my experience, it was amazing. I didn't give anybody any problems. Yeah. So your question originally,
the teachers cutting up, fighting each other.
Well, I would actually talk about just the teachers in general. There was a gentleman, Mick something, who was saying, if you don't want to be a teacher, then if this is not what you want to do, don't do it. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I agree with that because right now there's so many people, to you all's point, who are just getting a degree, can't find something, and the first thing that they do is they're like, well, I know I can easily get a job as a teacher. I'm going to stay doing this for 2 years until I find the job that I want, and I'm going to move on. Well, that does not benefit the child. And the school is just like, I want a warm body. That's all I want. I just want a warm body that can breathe and stand in front of the classroom. You don't have to be able to read. You don't have to be able to educate. Can you just show them the page number that they have to read? You get what I'm saying? It's just unfortunate. And I speak to so many young children, and I say children that graduated from college. They still kids to me. I'm sorry, I'm old. That recently graduated from college, and they say, I'm going to go and become a teacher. And the only reason is because you get time off for mental health. You get summertime off for mental health. No, you get summertime off so you can go to the beach. That's what you want to do. You just want to go to the beach. You don't care about anything else. You just want this time for you. It's a job that you can go in at 8 and leave at 3, and you're like, okay, the rest of the day is mine. But once you realize the work that comes with it, you're complaining the whole time. You're frustrated because it's work.
No, but that reminds me though of I don't know if you remember seeing that video of that young man, that white man, the white boy. He was in school and he was telling the teacher, "All you doing is giving us worksheets. Please teach us. We need to learn." And so, is that what's going on in these classrooms? Is these teachers are not teaching?
They're not incentivized to do more. Right. It's almost like, let me teach on cruise control. I do know in particular, my friends, they teach, they give more, they come up with lesson plans, they do all that stuff, but she went to school for teaching. Right. They went to school to be a guidance counselor. So I do think that makes a difference. And also it brings into question the quality of American education overall. Because I remember when I came here from Jamaica and I started in elementary school, and my first week at school, I was surprised because Jamaica is a poor country. How school is set up there, we're sharing long desks. There's no AC. Your parents have to pay to go to school, right? You don't have to be there. Like if you can't afford to go, you don't go. So the expectations were more higher and we had less resources. So I remember going to school for the first week. And I'm sitting there and I remember I'm like, man, and I came here when I was 9 years old and I was like, oh, like I learned this when I was like 5. So it was kind of shocking at the time because even learning in the list of schools in the world, America being a superpower compared to the Netherlands, compared to Finland, compared to other countries, we rank very, very low at overall education, which leads me to believe that it is by design because for some reason our country does not want to invest in an educated population to think freely and make informed decisions to keep these systems running how they run it.
So wait, why would they want to? Because what does education in America, I can't say outside of America. In fact, I can say Jamaica because in Jamaica, yes, they do teach. In Jamaica, a lot of times when people go to quote unquote public school, sometimes they're going away to public school and they're living on campus. Some of their campuses look like our colleges. So like when you look at why would we educate the people more? We're teaching them how to be workers. And you learn how to work when you get to the job. It's called on the job training. I want to add one more piece because you asked about my experience, right? So I am dyslexic. I wasn't diagnosed until I was in 5th grade. That's something they should have known earlier. In addition to that, I always did want to learn things. And so what I would do is I would skip school. When I got to high school, I would skip school and go to New York and go to the museums. I would go to Baltimore and go to the museums. I would go to DC and go to the museums. There was only one teacher, Miss Brookins. If you're out there, hey girl. Miss Brookins would take me on every single field trip to make sure that I learned something different because she understood that I didn't learn the same way that everybody else learned. You can't put a book in front of me and say, this is it. You get what I'm saying? And I think that that's what's missing, a teacher that is going to give you the time and stop having, I think one of you said that it's like 40 people in a classroom. 40 people to one, that just doesn't make any sense. There's no way you're going to be able to give anybody any special treatment, special or personal treatment. It's just unfortunate. So I think that that's something that needs to change. I'm sorry. No,
that was good. That was great. I just want to say this. Business Insider has reported that in 2018, U.S. students ranked 38th in the world for testing results in math and 34th in science. Now we have all of this STEM going on, and now we have to bring foreigners. Again, that goes back to my theory and us losing our national security, because now I grew up in the Silicon Valley, y'all. San Jose, we have all the high tech companies. San Jose has turned into, and this is not to be, I don't want to say racist, but prejudice or anything, but San Jose there's mostly Indians and Asians there because they have all the high-tech jobs. So they're essentially importing people over to take on the jobs that Americans should have. And they're saying where are the black jobs? Who got the black jobs? I don't know. So anyway, this has been such a great conversation, ladies. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, this is the Fly Nubian Queen, and I want to tell you, make sure that you subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you subscribe to, or you follow us on every medium, every social media medium, and text the words Queens, Queens, to 87948 so that you can be alerted. Go to the website, flynubianmoney.com, if you want to get your money right and your money tight. Now, Miss Athena, I want to know what your final thoughts are.
Okay, so final thoughts. We didn't get to touch on this, but we are a solution-oriented platform. If you are a parent and you have children and you are worried about the quality of their education, what you can do is first getting involved at your school, get to know their teachers, join the PTA if possible. Look at alternative methods. Can you send your child to a magnet school? Can you send your child to a more competitive school? Can your child apply for a scholarship to a private school? Also, I also do believe learning begins at home. And that was a principle that my parents established growing up. And studies show that when parents take an active role in education at home, children do better. So you cannot leave your children on cruise control. This is not the day, age, or time. Clearly, teachers are doing fisticuffs right now. So you need to make an active involvement in your child's life and also understand what education is for. Lastly, and maybe we'll do an episode on this in the future, America is not invested in having an educated workforce. Instead of putting the money and the dollars there, America has said, you know what, we're going to just give the money through these H-1B visa sponsorships, which is how my family was able to get here. My dad was a geologist. So that's how we were able to do that. And that's how these tech jobs do, because America needs specialized workers. It is a shame because we basically have enough of the population to have enough to educate our workforce, so we don't need to do that. You can find me at wewealthwoman.com, where I teach ladies how to confidently manage their finances and create their own wealth. And I am Athena Gardner, and I'm CPA.
Yes, Goddess Athena. Thank you, darling. And then our special guest, Miss April Sampay. Give us your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
My final thoughts are: pay attention to your children. Make sure that you are involved in everything that your children do. Be a part of everything that your children are doing. And I would also add, make sure that you know who the teachers are that are teaching your kids. Why is it that when your kids are wanting to spend the night over somebody's house, you want to vet the parents, but you're not vetting the teachers that are teaching your children for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for years at a time? So pay attention to your kids and make sure that you are giving the teachers grace as well as the children. Where can you find me? You can find me at all things April Sampay. Yeah, and if you need a house, call me.
Holla. Thank you, Miss April. And I'll just say this. I have 4 kids, and it is not easy being a parent, nor is it easy being a single parent. And kids are really with their teachers more than they are at home. They spend more time at schools with their peers and with their teachers more than they do with you. So it is imperative that we are involved. I'm telling y'all, 30% expulsion rates drop by 30% when there is parental involvement. They will expel your children at the drop of a dime if they know that you are not involved. And it doesn't even have to be joining the PTA, because you may not have time. A simple text to let them know, I got my eyes on you. Please just do a little bit, make a little bit of an effort to be involved in your children's lives. The other thing for the teachers, if this ain't your ministry, don't do it. Don't become a teacher if this ain't what you want to do, because you have children's lives. Come on with the tambourine. You got children's lives in your hands, and it matters. And that's why we see so many children going to the prison pipeline, is because we have a lot of teachers that don't care. But it all goes back to the parents who don't care. So if the parents ain't involved, teachers ain't gonna care. And then we have lost children. And then we have teachers telling children to suck their. So this has been such a great episode, ladies. I thank you. Please make sure that you watch us tomorrow every day on the Fly Nubian Money.
Word of the day is ratcheticity.
Brought to you by Athena.
Brought to you by the letter A.
We'll see you tomorrow, same time, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific, same bat channel. Thank you for tuning in.